welcome, Lynx here, and I'm bringing you another game from itch.io, my Dear Delirium, psychological visual novel, supposedly fully voiced, so that's going to be a little easier for me. Let's go. I think it was made in Unity, by the way. All eyes are focused on the plentiful bounty laid before them. Elliot sheepishly curls a strand of his brown hair and gestures to the girl across the table. You know what? You should make the text go a little faster. Oh, I can't do that. Whoops. Okay.
After you.
Was it... I'm not sure if you could hear that.
No, Elliot, I insist.
The standoff lasts a few seconds before the tension breaks with the pouring of the tea beside them. Jacob carefully sets the teapot down and takes a quick sip, letting out a great content sigh.
You're no fun at all, Jacob.
Okay, they are kinda quiet, aren't they? It's maxed out. Interesting. Huh. Anybody would think the world's crashing down on Sasha, but her disappointment earns only laughter from her companions. Elliot quickly busies himself filling a plate with an assortment of sweets, while Sasha steals away a lavish cake.
You're not having anything, Jacob. I don't think Sasha would have poisoned them.
What if she did?
Elliot, how could you? I poured my heart and soul into this and you think I would poison it?
Maybe it's that heart of yours that's got the poison then.
A smile bridges the blonde boy's face as he takes another sip to hide it from the accused. He had never been one to tempt fate, and it wasn't changing now.
Besides, if she was after me, I'd be long gone by now.
Huh. Finally some respect.
Pouting, Sasha stares defiantly at Jacob. Much to her ire, he remains totally unfazed. She sighs heavily, plunging her fork into the cake. Maybe something sweet will ease the pain her friends inflicted on her. From across the table, a faint giggle emanates from Elliot, clearly relishing her misery.
You got something to say, huh?
I was just thinking, you two make quite the pair.
Wow. I've heard something like that in the past and I didn't like that comment. She's at least pretty cute. Let's not talk about my situation in the past, very distant past, luckily enough. Silence falls across them for a second, a very long second. It ends as Sasha nearly topples from her chair in a fit of laughter, while Jacob hangs his head in a hand.
You hear that, Jacob? We're quite the pair. Doesn't that just warm your heart?
Please, don't lump me in together with her, Elliot.
The pain in Jacob's voice can't be more at odds with the sheer amusement of Sasha's.
You two really don't see it? It's like you're two parts of a whole.
Elliot had always found his friends peculiar, and even now they prove an enigma at times. He'd rarely ever seen them apart, so the thought came naturally to him. When he'd first met them, their energy had almost steamrolled him. Elliot, quiet by nature, had felt like he'd been cast aside a typhoon. It had been a blessing to have Jacob there to rein in Sasha, but sometimes it almost felt like they played off each other. How long ago had it been? Try as he might, Elliot can't quite remember how many days had passed. Weeks, months, he wasn't sure. The past blur together, and the more he tries to remember, the foggier it becomes. It feels so close. Yet in that time, however long or short, he'd never once been ungrateful. Before meeting Jacob and Sasha, his world had lacked color. Dullness had reigned supreme and had been a helpless captive. Sasha's relentless attacks had broken down his shell. I mean, I understand that. Being in a grey world, with kinda no color. I understand that. Someone appearing that kind of gives a color to life. Yeah, that's super nice. And Jacob had grown him out.
Elliot?
A tinge of concern mixes into Jacob's voice. Elliot snaps from his reverie. His vision is blurred. He'd been staring straight at the lights throughout. Sorry, not thought. Throughout.
Sorry, don't mind me. Just got caught up thinking of when we'd met.
His companions blink at him, their concerns draining away. Not that Sasha's expression ever really looked concerned. In fact, it almost looks triumphant.
Fine, you win.
You win what? Jacob takes an almost indignant swing from his tea before refilling the cup.
Thank you, thank you. You can buy me something later.
You know what? I think right now that I am positioned, a fan is hitting the mic. Sorry about that. Now it should be better, hopefully. No, the mic still is peaking a little bit, but maybe it's not too bad. I hope it's not too bad. No, it's not peaking. Okay.
Just nothing too pricey. Got it? Work doesn't pay well enough to waste money on you.
I so understand that.
Jacob, you wound me. Would I ever ask for much?
Probably. As the pain rattled on, Elliot sits in stunned silence. He hasn't the faintest idea of what went on while he was reminiscing.
Excuse me?
At his words, Jacob crosses his arms and looks away, while Sasha snickers avidly.
Well, you see, dear Elliot, my dear Elliot, Jacob and I had a bet. A wager of sorts.
Go on. Elliot's confusion must be clear as day, prompting Sasha to press on.
What could our darling boy be thinking? What distracted him from our wonderful company? And to that I said, only we are charming enough to steal your attention from us.
And I figured maybe he'd wisened up and started ignoring her. I was deeply disappointed, Elliot.
I'm sorry?
It's all a little too much for Elliot to process at once. It's all he could do to stammer out an apology as the words sink in. In a slight frown crosses his face.
I see I'm nothing more than a pawn in your games.
No, don't think like that, Elliot.
A point to score in an endless competition.
Ouch.
All right, we get it. Sasha, quit making bets on Elliot, would ya?
Hey, you're part of this too, Jacob. Don't try to weasel out of this one.
Their banter comes to a halt as Elliot lets loose a laugh.
Well, I'll be. That's a nice sight.
Don't go getting sentimental now. Though, you're right, it's not bad.
Sasha and Jacob share a look between each other while Elliot tries to rein himself in. They rarely get to see him really at ease, and it brings them each a smile. For Elliot often plays along with their antics. It's just that. Playing along. Try as they might, it's hard to really lift his spirits when he's down. Their efforts today are bearing fruit, but they weren't always so lucky. It had become a little more common in days of late, but they can't grow complacent. Jacob shoots a questioning glance to Sasha, who simply nods, a smirk playing on her lips. Maybe today will be different. And yet, when his eyes turn back to Elliot...
Hey, Elliot, what have you been doing over there?
Elliot's scribbling comes to a halt.
Just drawing something. I've been enjoying it lately. It's really peaceful.
Show me.
Oh, is that so?
Sasha grins as a blush creeps up Elliot's face. He tries to cover the drawing, but Sasha snatches away.
This is...
She holds in her hand a rough drawing of a yellow flower. Wilding away on the page, her lips twitch.
It's lovely, Elliot. You've got a real talent.
Jacob peers over the page, soaking the sight. He's definitely dying?
You put me to shame, Elliot. But I have to ask, why is it so dead?
He... Sasha rams an elbow into Jacob's side, earning a wince.
What?
Dead?
Elliot's head tilts to the side as he grapples with Jacob's question.
It's a flower, Jacob. Why would it be dead?
His eyes are clear and honest as he meets Jacob's puzzled stare.
Of course, we're just messing with you, Elliot. You don't need to take us so seriously, really.
Her words drawing Elliot's gaze from Jacob, Sarah takes a final bite of her cake.
Did you grow up with flowers like these?
I kinda would like to see that picture now, to be honest. Her words are met with another silence as Elliot moves over the question.
Did I can't remember. It seems so long ago.
Jacob slides the drawing back to Elliot, his eyes immediately locking on the image before him. A minute passes by with little more than the idle clinking of Jacob's teacup.
I'm sorry. I don't think I quite understand, Sasha.
Huh? Does this guy have some kind of memory loss or... Elliot shakes his head, his eyes dance with thoughts, scrambling for an answer. Here's me not reading descriptions of the games. By the way, I'm like, the title, okay. Not a bad CG. Let's play it. Honestly, that's how I find games on itch.io, to be fair. I browse. If it has a thumbnail that catches my attention, I click. If the pictures to the game page look good, I download. Unless I can tell that it's, uploaded by someone who should not be uploading that, so not the rightful owner. Then it's just report to itch.io and so on from now on. Anyway, have I read this line? I'm not sure. Let's read it again if I did. Elliot shakes his head, his eyes dance with thoughts, scrambling for an answer.
Don't sweat it, buddy. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast, let alone anything from years ago.
I actually have not had a breakfast today, I remember that. I went straight for dinner. A giant grin flashes across Jacob's face, his chair creaking as he leans back. His energy is infectious, and soon enough his smile spreads to Elliot.
I always knew you looked better with a smile. Now eat up before I snatch it all away.
Sasha's teasing gets a shaky laugh from Elliot, but his composure returns.
Okay. Don't mind if I do.
Ooh. That's a new place?
Cheerful today.
Wait a second. This guy has a lab coat. There is a big mirror. Are you observing the three of them on the other side? Is he in some kind of I would not even know how to call it. Medical building? Medical facility? Or whatever. Something like that. Is he in medical facility being visited by the friends of his? Something like this? I wonder. Quiet hope fills her voice. Maybe this time it will be different. Maybe they can make progress. The light that filters through the one-way glass softly illuminates her features. A faint sparkle of excitement plays in her eyes as she watches Elliot smiling alongside his companions on the other side.
You'll regret it if you get ahead of yourself.
A sigh escapes Caitlin's lips. Ever since she'd been brought on, she'd seen despair grip Elliot day after day. She could only hope that days like this would come more frequently.
Do you really mean to tell me seeing him like this doesn't raise your spirits even a little, James?
Yeah, James, what is wrong with you?
I'd love to be as idealistic as you, Caitlin, but I've already seen this cycle play out. Today will be no different.
watch, observe. Those were the directives they'd been given, and each day they'd played their role. At first, Caitlin had been enthusiastic. It was her chance to do something, create meaningful change for once. She cast a sidelong glance at James, who had been her only consistent company at their station for the past month. She can see her own changes reflected in him. She'd once asked him how long he'd been here. His answers were too long. Through the window, movement catches her eye. Another bout of jovial play. Sasha instigating something as usual. Ever since they'd started visiting, Sasha and Jacob had begun unlocking a subdued radiance in Elliot. Oh, so I was correct about that. For he's still far from truly shining. Seeing the joy infecting the trio, Caitlin's eyes glaze over, the look of smugness on Sasha's face. As she playfully torments Elliot, a sore taste spreads through her mouth. Swallowing her misgivings, she mouths to herself, "It's part of the job," a mantra she found herself using far too often. To her side, James writes something down his clipboard.
Something catch your eye?
Just noting the way they're acting. The report is due by the end of the week, and with the way things are now, I imagine they'd find it quite interesting.
Even a month on, Caitlin still doesn't know much about her employer. The contract she'd signed seemed to be with a mostly hollow company. Through the interviews, it had all seemed so standard, almost too normal. The promise making a life better had sounded so sweet. It wasn't until she'd signed the dotted line that the guys began to fade. Whenever she asks James, it feels like he has some idea what's going on, but chooses not to think about it. Maybe it's better not knowing. Her stomach twists at the thought. Maybe it's time to quit. Pulling her gaze away from James, Caitlin peers back in the bright room. Jacob was busy playing the moderator, keeping Sasha in line. The whole dynamic felt uncanny to her as an outsider observer, but judging by the grin on Elliot's face, it was working.
I can see why they came together. The last pair never got this kind of reaction out of him.
Oh, wait. What? So they are switching some for some? What? Interesting. Sasha and Jacob have been visiting Elliot for the last 3 weeks. Caitlin had arrived barely in time to see the changeover, and at first she was terrified at the thought. But Elliot seemed barely to notice. Or it had been repressed, like everything else. The thought unnerves Caitlin. It was her job to work through these issues, but it would be generous to say she's accomplished anything. Her brown kid as she watches the pointless banter inside the other world. As she does, she notices Sasha glance at her phone. Some kind of message.
I hope you're ready. If we can get something meaningful today, I'm sure they'll be overjoyed.
Again, James speaks of they.
Do you only see him as a subject? He's human too, just like either of us. We could make a difference for him, James.
It's all rhetoric, a conversation they've had before, yet nearly every day it resurfaced.
You do well to create that divide yourself, Caitlin. If you'd see this pattern play out as many times as I have, you'd be a little more aware of that.
So you're saying I should give up on him?
I'm not saying that. Just don't get your hopes up.
A silence envelopes the pair and they focus back on their duty. It would be the most dual work Caitlin had ever done, if it didn't tear at her heart so often. Sometimes she wished it were just dual work. Maybe it would be better. The sliding of a chair suddenly pulls the attention of Elliot and Jacob. Sasha waves her hands in all kinds of gestures before smirking them both and tucking her chair into the table. A look of horror flickers over Elliot's face, almost too quick to see. Caitlin hears the pen moving beside her. These are the things they are here for. Sasha bows articulatingly to her companions before, at last, moving to the door. Oh boy, so now something is going to go wrong? I mean, there was that whole horrorish expression on his face, right? Let's find out. It swings open and shut quickly and quietly, and she takes a deep breath, slowly letting it out.
Good work today.
James breaks the silence. The word set Caitlin's stomach churning.
You know, I thought it'd be over by now, but you lot are crazy. You know that?
Sasha speaks without any of the friendly tone she uses with Elliot. Even so, compared to some reactions, she's still rather polite.
That's nothing for you to worry about. Don't worry, your payment has already been sent.
An irritated look crossed her face.
I may work for you, but even I have things I want to complain about. What kind of lies are you feeding this kid?
That's right. At the end of the day, Sasha was much like Caitlin or James. Somebody from the outside.
I understand your concern, Sasha, but it's for the best.
Caitlin can tell her words are hollow, and Sasha is no fool. The twisted glare she gives her is only fair. Caitlin cannot accept the animosity. After all, she's lying to Elliot like this. Really is for the best. After all, he's lying to Elliot like this, really for the best. It's up that plucks her each and every day.
Ah, forget it. I'm sure you're as much a lackey here as I am. Just don't mess with him too much. That guy, something doesn't sit right, you know?
A professional veneer turns to Sasha. At the end of the day, she's just that, a professional. You shouldn't have that much control. There would be no way she'd be allowed into the room at all. James makes a small note and nods to her permission to leave.
Then good luck, you two. I hope at least something comes of this today.
Sasha?
She looks back at Caitlin, frustration at being stopped from leaving clear as day.
Is Jacob staying for long? You usually leave together.
Oh, he just wanted to try having a little one-on-one. See if it'd do anything after I loosened him up a bit.
Aww. Once more, James scribbles something down. Well, usually they didn't like them going off script. Lately, they've allowed it. A little.
Thanks. I won't stop you leaving this time.
You're a weird one, you know. Though, not like we're much better.
With a right chuckle, she leaves the dim room, heading back to the foyer. With Sasha's job coming to a close for the day, the next phase begins. All that's left is...
Hey, James. Doesn't Elliot look relaxed?
James turns his head back to the mirror on the other side of the glass, while Sasha, the atmosphere immediately feels calmer. Jacob and Elliot sit quietly together, bantering back and forth. A contented smile graces Elliot's face. It may not have been Caitlin's imagination after all. He really does seem to be in a good mood. Her conscious whisperer whispers to her, "And you're about to ruin it all." A chill runs through her, but she shakes her head, dismissing the thought.
You may just be right.
James peers at Elliot, assessing him. Always assessing him. If anybody knows what makes him tick, it will be James. Yet even so, their goal has proved elusive.
It seems their agency was serious about providing good talent. I'm impressed.
Sasha and Jacob definitely are good talent. They are under a contract much like Caitlin's own, sworn to secrecy on whatever they witness within the facility. Their agency, I mean, that's pretty natural for any contracts, yeah. Their agency had to be told a bare minimum, but it seems to have given in under pressure and stopped asking questions. They weren't the first actors they had engaged with Elliot. The memory of the day the last group quit still haunts Caitlin. What kind of people lock up somebody and trap them in a web of lies? Garbage. It had hit breaking point after only 2 weeks. Facing Elliot sincerely had made each fake story, each false word, cut deeply into actors he thought were friends.
Maybe our moral compass is off.
Definitely.
Something wrong, Caitlin?
Just thinking to myself. Jacob seems to be taking a while. Do you think everything is okay?
Her words are more than just a distraction from her doubt. Jacob, still talking to Elliot, seems to be in no rush to finish for the day. It feels... dangerous. A constant fear for Caitlin and James' attachment. Get attached, and your job is gone. It was one of the clauses in the contracts and had already led to significant staff turnover. Elliot had proven to endearing for many.
We should give him a minute. This is a rarity after all. It would be a waste not to see how it plays out.
Dude, can you speak louder? Something resembling a smile creases James's face for a moment. If Caitlin had blinked, she'd have missed it.
Maybe you're right. Miracles can happen.
Her lips curled to a wry smile, but James is unfazed. That's no fun. The words barely fall from her mouth, too quiet to hear.
For today, I don't think we should push too hard. When he sees us...
Don't worry, James, I know. Like I could forget the look in his eyes.
I get that he's calm and collected, but really he could speak a bit louder. The Elliot who smiled and laughed today was an anomaly, or maybe it was better to say he was an entirely different Elliot. Whenever his eyes turned on Caitlin, she's forced to watch hope die. In her company, Elliot is denied all joy. Ouch. It had shaken her to the very core at first, even giving her nightmares, but gradually she'd adjusted. Now she can ignore his despair, even if only for their short meetings. But now it was time. Taking a deep breath, Caitlin calms herself. A quick check with James says they are ready.
We'll have to send Jacob out once we're in there.
He's smart enough, he'll realize it on his own.
I hope so.
While James stands silently at the door, Caitlin bounced up and down, building herself up. For they aren't actors, it was time for their own show to begin. A question lingers at the forefront of her mind. One she can't shake. It's... Can I save? Can I save? Yes, I can. Thank you. Will it be different this time? What will happen in the room today? First one. Shakes her head, trying to dismiss the idle thought. She looks to James, who nods back. They enter the room. What is going on? The door slides shut behind them. Elliot and Jacob's banter dies in the air. Caitlin takes a deep breath, walking slowly towards them. James close behind. It's time. Time to make a difference.
Good morning, Elliot. How are you?
She beams a smile at Elliot, the same smile she'd practiced every night since the day she'd started. Rain or shine, she wanted to be a force for good, somebody Elliot could rely on. Perhaps even somebody he looked forward to seeing. That's why she can be sure it's genuine, her heart on her sleeve, anything less, and it would be disrespectful to Elliot. And yet, Elliot's eyes peer into the abyss close to the world around him. A chair squeaks against the floor as Jacob rises to his feet, hands planted on the table. Something with him is simmering, slowly boiling over. James rests a hand beside Jacob's, sending him a sidelong glance. Silence reigns until Jacob lets out a sigh. Tucking his chair to the table, he takes the hint, his back betraying no sign of his thoughts as he departs. Professional through and through. Caitlin's chest aches watching his departure. It couldn't be easy, but that was why they were paid so well. Nobody envies them. Least of all her. Elliot's vision hadn't once shifted. A chill creeps up Caitlin's spine, knowing what comes next. No, only what might come next. She isn't about to lose hope.
Come now. You can talk to us, Elliot. We won't bite.
Soft and disarming, her voice fills the room, fighting back against the cold atmosphere. She won't let herself miss this chance. Elliot had shown signs of opening up, and if ever she could do something for him, it would be now. She has to take it slow. She's seen what happens when Elliot is pushed too hard, when the pressure grows too high. It had initially taken 2 days to get so much as a solitary word from him. As much as she'd feared for Elliot at that time, if herself being new, it had done quite the number on her own heart. Ever since she'd resolved not to make the same mistake, she wouldn't let Elliot dictate the pace, but she would give him breathing room. For today, the sound of sharp breaths are all she earns for her efforts. Caitlin blinks slowly, regathering herself. It's too soon to be discouraged. With the rise and fall of Elliot's chest, she ponders how best to approach him. To her side, James scribbles notes. Ever the studious one, pressure never seems to get to him. It has saved Caitlin from tears on a few occasions, and serves as inspiration on others. Smiling to herself, she settles on an idea. They won't go home empty-handed today.
It seems you quite like those two. Are you close with them?
Elliot's body tenses, and for the first time his gaze flicks toward Caitlin. Success. If only. How had she been so optimistic? His cold, fear-riddled stare bores into Caitlin. The terror nearly infectious. He takes a steadying breath, but she reinforces her cheery smile. She can't afford to show him weakness, not while she hopes to be a guiding light. Yet his words.
Don't touch them. Please.
Huh? The doubt treads away at her heart.
We're not going to do anything, Elliot. Do you really think we would?
For his words wound her, Caitlin's chest fills with a quiet excitement. He answered. She doesn't need to turn to James to know the corners of his mouth will be turned up at a time like this. It would be a lie to say she wasn't worried by how he saw them, but a win was a win. These days, any progress was good progress. Sparring a small glance to her companion, Caitlin gives him a questioning look. After a second, she decides no answer is a good answer. She can try pushing just a little harder today. Suddenly clearing her throat, Caitlin musters all the warmth she can gather.
Is there anything you'd like, Elliot? We can try to bring it along next time.
Caitlin, don't make any promises.
An urge to smug James arises but falls just as quickly. Somewhere in his mind, he's helping. He means well, but did he have to run interference now?
Promises? I know it's a bribe. Empty words. They're all you have. They're all you'll ever have.
Ouch. Yet by some miracle it works. 2 replies in a single day. It's nearly a record. Think. It was too good a chance to give up. Caitlin can begin to guess when Elliot might be so talkative again. Closing her eyes, she breathes a deep breath. There's an opening right before her. She can feel it with her fingertips. It's time to capitalize. If he can open his heart, even a sliver, Caitlin will move heaven and earth for him. All she needs is Elliot to give her a chance. For that she can be his foe. He needs to understand she's on his side.
That's not true. We're here to help you, Elliot. We're not your enemy. Surely you can see that.
By the way, her voice sounds familiar for some reason. As soon as the words leave her mouth, Caitlin bites down. She was presumptuous, a dreadful haunting smile crosses Elliot's face. It melts together with his terror, a grimacing visage of her own making.
Not my enemy.
She curses herself.
You haunt me day in, day out. You lurk in my shadow, watching, waiting, always there. Even when I breathe, I feel your weight crushing me. Are you not satisfied with living inside my nightmares? Even in this place of light you appear.
Caitlin recalls one evening from her first week with Elliot. He'd mentioned a place of light then too. The scratching of Jake's pen tells her she's already a step ahead. It's odd. Back then, she'd been quick to grow teary, but now it seems such a distant memory, a time long gone. I mean, long ago, but yeah, it's also gone. But here and now, there were more pressing concerns. Elliot's shoulders tremble, his eyes darting around, never lingering. From her face to James, they bounce and bounce.
Take a deep breath, Elliot. You're getting worked up.
Monsters. The both of you.
Caitlin leans back, dabbing at her brow. The sting of Elliot's words gives her pause, but with a gentle shine in his eyes and chest heaving, it was time she let James try his hand. It would be easy to grow discouraged, but Caitlin can only smile. Even if it's hateful, even if it's fearful, Elliot is talking again. It warms her heart just imagining what it might mean. Where it might lead.
I see. Do you see us often, Elliot?
James' words pull her back to attention. It was no time to be letting her mind wander, especially in hearing such an oddly compassionate tone from her colleague. A faint shift in Elliot's composure makes Caitlin and James sit up. It feels hollow, angry. Frantic scratching of pen on paper punctuates the interluding silence. Such emotion was a scarce rarity. They would be thrilled to hear of it. But before she or James can send a report, they have a job to do. A person to help.
You think you're so clever, hiding away, acting like I don't see you, like I don't know you're there.
Huh? An excited smile reaches James's face.
And where exactly are we hiding?
He can barely keep the glee from his voice. An unexpected development has shaken his stalwart composure to its core.
You slither in the dark, beneath the chairs and in the corners. Where shadows rest, you make your wicked nest.
Is that so? Caitlin, if you would be so kind.
Caitlin shifts closer to Elliot, stretching out a hand. Will he take it? She dares not hope for too much. Maybe he at least won't slap it away, but alone relieve her.
Elliot.
Stay out! Stay out of my head! It's my place, not yours! Demons like you should stay in your shadows.
Fear clouds Elliot's face. Running his hands through his hair, he does his head side to side, doing all he can to avoid Caitlin's eyes. However...
Demons, huh? So that's how you see us.
Demons. That's new, to say nothing of their wicked nest. Again, the sound of screaming kills their... Scratch, scratch, scratch. More notes to add to the endless catalog. How many drawers do I fill now?
I know your tricks. I've heard all your sweet words before, but they won't work. Not today, not tomorrow.
Caitlin smiles, her eyes shimmering as they look upon Elliot. It won't do for her to cry. Not here. Not now. Tears won't help Elliot. Crying for him won't ease his struggle.
Elliot, you need to let us in. We can help you, but you need to let us.
No, I won't! I won't, I won't, I won't.
Makes me wonder what exactly is going through his mind. Or more like what he's been through. Elliot places his hands over his ears, his eyes screw shut, blocking out everything around him. Alone. Alone against it all, and it's her fault. Not that James would ever let her believe that.
Perhaps that will do for today.
Elliot's body twitches. A twinge of relief hits Caitlin as James' words reach him even through his resistance.
Yes.
But it doesn't help her much. Her smile frayed, her soul wearied. She steps away from Elliot's shrunken form, away from the boy plagued by nightmare. Her hope for bringing salvation still beyond an unseen horizon.
We'll see you again soon, Elliot.
A deep breath steadies her, and a nod to James brings his writing to a halt. It seems they have reached their limit for today. Fear turns over inside her mind. She's once again driven Elliot into a corner, threatened him, locked him off from the world. Is that all she can do? Have I made the wrong choice? She turns her back on her boy, leaving him rocking back and forth. Every day she feels closer to despair, to hopelessness. Her respite comes from the breadcrumb trail they discovered today. Perhaps next time it might lead the way. Closing the door with hardly any noise, she and James leave the room behind. Today was different. I'm very curious what exactly is going through this boy's head. Or more like, what exactly he experienced. I'm super interested in that, because, I mean, clearly it's been something really rough. Okay, so apparently there are two endings. Let's check it out, shall we? let's check out the other one. What will happen in the room today? She shakes her head, trying to dismiss the idle thought. She looks to James, who nods back. They enter the room. Oi, 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 oi. Oh, we are seeing his perspective here, right? For Elliot, it was only a matter of time. Good things don't last. Not for him. Her voice sends a chill up his spine, instilling dread in his heart.
Good morning, Elliot. How are you?
Oh boy. Okay, so normally they they act like normally, right? But okay, I get it. For him, it looks like that. Damn. Okay. Terror grips him, his gaze looks unwaveringly on the table before him. With Sasha gone, Jacob is his last beacon of hope. Yet even as he turns to him for solace, his presence drifts away. Elliot's world withdraws until no more than he and the fiends remain.
Come now, you can talk to us, Elliot. We won't bite.
Again, her haunting voice probes at him. Perhaps this time he can ignore them. Maybe this time it will be different. With such a resolution in his heart, Elliot ignores the whispering of his demons. Why they always choose to manifest themselves only to torment him, he will never understand. Such beings can only be one thing: evil. He remains in silence, focusing only on his breathing, each small, sharp breath stabbing at him, yet the pain was preferable to their company. In his focus, he can forget them. He can banish them back to the shadowed corners of his mind.
It seems you quite like those two. Are you close with them?
How had he been so optimistic?
Don't touch them. Please.
Interesting. His first mistake. Elliot had experienced this cycle before. Countless times. Whenever his lurking demons appeared, they would poke and prod until they found an opening. Now, they have one.
We're not going to do anything, Elliot. Do you really think we would?
The tone of her voice is nauseating, twisted, defiled creature trying to weave its way into his mind. He could not give way, lest he lose himself to their beguilement. Elliot holds his tongue with all he has. He feels their presence still, his heart beating frantically.
Oh, sorry.
The building, the dread grows heavy as his stomach twists and turns. The apparitions pass glances to one another, their eyes hiding any trace of their devious plots. Again, she speaks in her ever haughty tone.
Is there anything you'd like, Elliot? We can try to bring it along next time.
Caitlin, don't make any promises.
Promises? I know it's a bribe. Empty words. They're all you have. They're all you'll ever have.
Elliot bites his lip, but it's too late. He's addressed them, and he can feel them feeding off it. Had he only ignored them, they'd have faded away. He's once again failed to repress them, to repress himself. Was it the price he paid for happiness? To have enjoyed a single day, must he pay for it all, being pinned between two devils, taunting and tempting him?
That's not true. We're here to help you, Elliot. We're not your enemy. Surely you can see that.
A sickened smile crosses Elliot's face, a ghastly sight amidst his horror.
Not my enemy? You haunt me day in, day out. You lurk in my shadow, watching, waiting. Always there.
Yikes.
Even when I breathe, I feel your weight crushing me. Are you not satisfied with living inside my nightmares? Even in this place of light, you appear.
It's crazy, it's the same tone, like, but... I mean, it's the same lines, but it's completely different tone, and you know... Like, from the perspective of the two, they talked normally, right? And so on. From his perspective... Ooh, literally a nightmare. The world blurs, and Elliot's vision muddies as fear and anger possess him.
Take a deep breath, Elliot. You're getting worked up.
Monsters. The both of you.
Eyes burning, Elliot fights back the tears. He won't let them see his weakness. He won't give them the satisfaction. And yet, they seem utterly unfazed by his words. No, they seem to relish in them.
I see. Do you see us often, Elliot?
Taunting, degrading, his words stab into Elliot. Is it not obvious? Why ask that which is already known? Elliot's sitting anger turns cold, sitting and stewing in his heart.
You think you're so clever. Hiding away. Acting like I don't see you. Like I don't know you're there.
A sly smile cuts its way across his accuser's face.
And where exactly are we hiding?
What sick game is it playing? What can it hope to gain? Elliot can no longer tell if he were shaking or the entire hellish realm he seems to have been dragged into. It's all one and the same. All he knows is that these sickening monsters were to blame. They are to blame. For everything.
You slither in the dark, beneath the chairs and in the corners, where shadows rest. You make your wicked nest.
Is that so? Kate, if you would be so kind.
The other devil inches closer in response to its words. Their game of cat and mouse nears its climax, and Elliot's fear grows. Has he given too much? His words have flown free, unabated, yet he is still himself. For now. An outstretched hand pushes through towards Elliot. Again, his stomach churns. Such human gestures are unbefitting of monstrosities. He recoils, refusing to be dragged any deeper into their gillies. It's too much. He can't take their snidiness, their trickery. It sickens him on a most primal level.
Elliot.
Stay out! Stay out of my head. It's my place, not yours. Demons like you should stay in your shadows.
And yet it smirks. Of course it smirked. Elliot had called it on its game. But there was nothing to it. For all it cares, it has all learned to whittle him down. Setbacks only make for new challenges. I clicked, come on.
Demons, huh? So that's how you see us.
Such a sickening gall from an apparition.
I know your tricks. I've heard all your sweet words before, but they won't work. Not today. Not tomorrow.
A soft look spreads across the demon's face, catching Elliot by surprise. For a brief second, he almost looks human, almost kind.
Elliot, you need to let us in. We can help you, but you need to let us.
No, I won't! I won't. I won't. I won't.
Elliot refuses to think. Their promises, their hopeful words, it's all for nothing. He can't give ground. He can't afford to give up. He will not let them in. There were days where he had wondered what would change. What if he embraced his inner devils? The fight would be over. He might know peace. But at what cost? Silence drags, but he can still feel their omnipresent eyes, ever watching, ever waiting. Elliot's ragged breathing, the only punctuation to the droning quiet.
Perhaps that will do for today.
Elliot's breath seizes in his throat. Is it simply another ploy?
Yes.
It seems they were both in dejected agreement. Had he won?
We'll see you again soon, Elliot.
He had not. Slowly their presence wanes, slitting into the shadowy recesses of his mind. They're banished for a time, his vision steadying. Elliot sat motionless. Light gradually returns to the world around him as the twisting shadows recede back to him. They are gone. Shrinking in the corner, Elliot rocks back and forth, alone at last. Alone, like always. Today was no different. Interesting. Dude, I feel like I need to think about this for a bit, to be honest. Like, making the final word right now kind of would not work at all for me. I mean, the thing is, we don't know everything, right? What we know is Caitlin wanted to definitely help the kid, right? So Elliot, definitely she wanted to help him. But the thing is, from his perspective, they are literally like the devils. Not someone who wants to help, but you know, make everything worse for him, basically. It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. Makes you curious, what exactly happened that Elliot is like this, yeah? At least in my from my perspective, from my thoughts, like, what the hell happened that it made you like this? It must have been some quite of an experience. Well, would be nice if the two, well, I guess James didn't really care that much, but our lovely female doctor, maybe, perhaps, I would say, would be able to get through to the boy and help him out, right? Hopefully, eventually, it will turn out like this. Let's believe it like that. Other than that, you know, good soundtrack, that's for sure. It works pretty well, especially after you change the perspective. It worked so well. The art, epic. Also, the voiceover was good. The only issue I had is the fact that James was so ridiculously quiet. You could not hear what he was saying properly. That's it, really. My Dear Delirium. That's it. Link to the game in the description. If I remember correctly, there is also OST to the game available, so that's pretty neat. I might be wrong about it, though, but I think there was a link in the description of the game there. Yeah, you guys can tell me what you think about the game as well. And also, consider liking the video, subscribing if you haven't by now, going to my socials, Twitter, Instagram, and you can also jump onto Twitch, where we stream occasionally on Fridays and Saturdays. And that's about it. Hope you enjoyed my Dear Delirium, and hope to see you in the next video, coming very really soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.